आवाज? हेलो, आगे न्यूज़पेपर ऐसे किया हुआ है। हम्म सी we आ जाओ। We will not be discussing the newspaper in the class. You have to study the newspaper and whatever are the doubts you have to ask in the class. ठीक है? I will just be telling कि which news is relevant and which is not. And right now you may not be able to understand a lot of topics. I said that कि after 7-8 classes you will be able to understand each and everything. So till that time you wait, but you start looking at the news. I am just telling you that this is relevant and this is not. You have to study on your own and you have to ask doubts. ठीक है? Because I want you to be capable to understand this newspaper yourself. ठीक है? I will be teaching everything. You have to study this newspaper on your own and whatever is the doubt you ask me. ठीक है? So any news on editorial page? This one, investment over subsidies. This is related to agriculture. This you should study. We will be discussing this in detail in agriculture class. And this one, we will also be discussing this in our IBC code class. So this is also relevant. You may not be able to understand this right now. So you can skip this right now. Once we understand this IBC code, then you will be able to understand. Then on business page, this is not relevant, this is not relevant. This you should study. No, this is also not relevant. It is related to a particular bank. This you should study. This one. Whenever finance minister, finance secretary, chief economic advisor, Niti Aayog, vice chairman, if any news comes from these people, if these people are saying in any interview, then you must study all those things. So this is relevant for you, what your finance minister is saying. Then, and this is also relevant. You should also study this. Be prepared for 1 or 2 major shocks in NBFC sector. So just have a look ki what they are saying. So this and this one. ठीक? That's all. So let's come to the yesterday's class. कल की class से what are the doubts? कोई doubt नहीं है? हाँ. Can? See, a company uses different inputs. We have broadly categorized into only 4. We don't have a separate categorization for intermediate goods. You can put it into that. Doesn't matter. ठीक है? I will come to that. See, this forms uses 4 inputs: entrepreneur, capital, natural resource, and labor. So this firm uses this. So this firm must also pay for them. This firm pays money to labor. This firm pays money from wherever it is getting natural resources, and this firm pays money for the capital also. It pays money to them also. Depending on the type of input, the terminology of payment changes. When it pays for the labor, it is called wages. Rent. So when you are at home, you are paying rent, but SR Private Limited for this building is paying interest. For SR Private Limited, this building is capital. Whatever a company pays for the capital, it will always be called interest. तो आपके घर में क्या होता है वो आप टर्मिनोलॉजी भूल जाओ. Try to be formal. Anything paid for the capital is interest. ठीक है? Any doubts regarding intermediate or final goods? Services, education. SR Private Limited is producing educational services. Services also we categorize under goods only, consumption and capital. Services is a kind of consumption goods. Third category, durable, non-durable and services. Intangible. But all final goods can be categorized into consumption or capital. We keep services under consumption part. And again I am saying, a company uses various inputs. A company may use intermediate good as an input. It may use capital goods as an input. Intermediate goods will transform, capital goods will remain as it is. So final goods, capital goods can also be used as an input. Okay? But it will remain as it is, it will not transform. Because capital goods, the characteristic says it is an output also, and then it again acts as input also. But while it is acting as an input, it doesn't get lost or transformed. So if this is Maruti India Private Limited, if this is Maruti India Private Limited, the machines in that factory are capital. It is Maruti is using those machines as an input. And it uses steel also as an input. Steel gets transformed and capital that remains as it is. Okay? So capital goods and intermediate goods clear. When someone asks that whether it is consumption good or capital good, first you think that whether it is a final good or not. If it is final, then only you can classify. If it is intermediate, you can't classify. Suppose I ask that this light is consumption or capital. फ्रंट पेज पे बैठ के एकदम अलर्ट रहो, ठीक है. दिस लाइट विच इज कमिंग कंजम्पशन और कैपिटल, कंजम्पशन है ना. ये फाइनल है ही नहीं तो कंजम्पशन कहाँ से होगा. आई एम अगेन एंड अगेन सेइंग कि कंजम्पशन एंड कैपिटल इज अ कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ फाइनल गुड्स, राइट. Intermediate again gets converted into final. If I ask this light is consumption or capital, first check that whether this light is intermediate or final. This light is not a final good, so you cannot classify. ठीक है. This projector is intermediate or final? It's a final good because it is not getting further transformed, so it's a final good. Now since it's a final good, now you can check whether it is consumption or capital. Capital, because it is being used to produce something to be sold in the market, and you are the market for this. And then I said that out of the 4 sectors, right. So I said ki market word is very important. Market word is very important. जैसे कार इज इंटरमीडिएट और फाइनल, फाइनल है बिकॉज इट इज डजंट गेट फर्दर ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड, इट इज फाइनल. नाउ कार व्हेन यू आर यूजिंग एट होम, ध्यान से सुनो, व्हेन यू आर यूजिंग एट होम, इट इज एन आउटपुट ऑफ ए मैन मेड प्रोसेस, इट इज एक्टिंग एज एन इनपुट एंड इट इज producing something and it is not getting transformed. but your car which you are using at home, it is producing transportation services, but that is not being sold in the market. जो second characteristic आपने लिखा है, it again acts as an input to produce in further production process to be sold in the market. That word is very important. Capital goods means it is being used to produce something to be sold in the market. ठीक, समझ गए? आप घर में टीवी है, टीवी घर में जो है इंटरमीडिएट और फाइनल, फाइनल कंजम्पशन और कैपिटल, कंजम्पशन, और यहाँ मैं टीवी लगा के मूवी सेल करने लगूं, दिखाने लगूं, कैपिटल. ठीक है. Now out of the, so we will not talk about intermediate goods because ultimately all intermediate goods will have to be converted into final. So when it will become final, then we will talk about that. So we don't talk about these things. Now final goods are of two types, consumption and capital. All the countries produce various goods and services. Every country is producing final goods. You can classify how much is consumption or how much is capital. India also produces final goods. Last year, how many rupees of final goods it produced? 168 lakh crore, and that is also called GDP of India. Now, 2017-18, India produced rupees 168 lakh crore of goods and services. India means within the boundary. Out of this, 72% was consumption good and 28% capital good. This goods which is produced, it is purchased by which sectors? 4 sectors: household, government, private and external. Household purchase only consumption goods, private sector purchase only capital goods. Private sector purchase only capital goods. We are talking about final goods. Private sector may purchase intermediate goods, but once we talk about final goods, either consumption or capital, private sector always purchase capital goods. Government and external purchases both. How much private purchased? Out of the 168 lakh crore, I said that, अभी हम लोग आते हैं उस पे. I said that कि if the demand of any of these sectors is changing, this production increase or decrease. ठीक है. Post 2008, our GDP production declined, growth declined, because the demand of this and these two sectors declined. ठीक है. Now out of this 168, 28% is capital and 72% is consumption. You write the definition of gross investment. And again I am saying, investment, never ever think of money. It is always measured from the output side, that part of the output which consists of capital goods. That is called investment. जैसे for example, this was the firm, it used 4 inputs: entrepreneur, capital, then natural resource and labor. Entrepreneur समझते हो, capital means factory, building, machinery, natural resources, land, raw material, and labor. This factory, you don't feed currency note. This firm requires 4 inputs, it doesn't require currency note. It doesn't require, किसी फैक्ट्री में देखो करेंसी फीड करते हो नहीं. From currency notes you can buy the inputs, but currency notes, money doesn't act as an input. From currency note, from money you buy capital. From money you can buy this input also. Money nowadays is being used in the form of capital also. In which sense it is used, that we will discuss in today's class. But from your economic point of view, no economists consider this currency note as capital. Capital means physical durable capital, which has the 3 characteristics. तो आप भी पैसे को अभी आप capital नहीं expect करो. In which sense it is used, हम लोग discuss करेंगे. ठीक है? Now gross investment का definition देखो. that part of the output which consists of capital goods, is called gross investment. ठीक है, देखो डेली का डेली जो आपका डाउट है वो क्लैरिफाई करते चलो. अगर सोचो ये 4-5 दिन बाद एक साथ पूछेंगे, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प यू. ठीक है. नाउ देयर आर टू कॉन्सेप्ट्स, स्टॉक एंड फ्लो, है ना. स्टॉक एंड फ्लो वर्ड सुना है. सो द डिफरेंस इज नो. नाउ थिंक अबाउट द इकोनॉमी. इन्वेस्टमेंट यही बोले ना कि जो लोग नहीं पढ़ के आए हैं कुछ, इट इज बेटर फॉर देम. पढ़ा भी नहीं है लेकिन आपने सुना है ना. इन्वेस्टमेंट ये गलत थिंकिंग है कि पैसे के टर्म्स आप सोचते हो. जैसे आपने रिलायंस में इन्वेस्ट किया, राइट, शेयर्स खरीद लिए. डिड इट मेक एनी चेंज इन द इकोनॉमी? नहीं. एसआर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड है. Suppose man sold this company to you. What difference it is going to make in the economy? कुछ नहीं. एक पेपर पे अभी उनका नाम लिखा हुआ, कैश आपके पास, you paid this cash to her, और पेपर आपके पास. इकोनॉमी में क्या चेंज आया? कुछ नहीं, नथिंग. तो मॉर्निंग में सी सोल्ड द पेपर टू यू, यू गेव कैश. आधे घंटे बाद फिर से उन्होंने पेपर परचेज किया, कैश दिया. इफ यू विल डू दिस 1000 times, is it going to make any change in economy? Do you think we should call it investment? नहीं. आप शेयर मार्केट सुबह 9:30 से 3:30 चलता है, ठीक, तो बेटर है कि रात के 12 बजे तक ऑन कर दो और इन्वेस्टमेंट होगा. हाँ, नहीं. बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ दिस, आज ये लैंड मुझे बिलोंग करती है, बिल्डिंग, एक बार मैं सेल किया, फिर 2 मिनट बाद देन यू परचेज सेल, ऐसे इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ता है क्या? इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज एनीथिंग इन इकोनॉमी. ये पेपर पे मेरा नाम है, पैसा आपके पास, यू गेव मनी टू मी, आई गेव दिस पेपर टू यू. दिस इज ट्रांजैक्शन, दिस इज नॉट इन्वेस्टमेंट. डोंट थिंक मनी एज इन्वेस्टमेंट. मनी किस सेंस में बोलते हैं, विल कम टू दैट पॉइंट. इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑलवेज एंड ऑलवेज इज मेजर्ड फ्रॉम द आउटपुट साइड. जो भी हम कैपिटल गुड्स प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट इन इंडियन इकोनॉमी. हाँ, तो इन्वेस्टमेंट उन्हीं के टर्म के लिए, उन्हीं के लिए यूज ही होता है. ठीक है. पैसे का जो आपके अंदर है ना, वो 1-2 दिन में क्लैरिफाई हो जाएगा, मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आज ही हो जाएगा. राइट. So if someone asks you what was the investment in Indian economy in 2017-18, you will say 28%, or you calculate 28% of 168 lakh crore. You tell the absolute value कि this was the investment. ठीक है. हमें आउटपुट साइड से, एंड दैट विच इज द कैपिटल गुड, राइट. आएगा अभी वो क्लैरिफाई हो जाएगा आज के क्लास में. सो स्टॉक एंड फ्लो 2 वर्ड्स हैं. ठीक. हाउ टू डिफरेंशिएट? इफ एनीथिंग यू कैन एक्सप्रेस फॉर अ मोमेंट ऑफ टाइम, देन इट इज कॉल्ड स्टॉक. And if you can express something for a period of time, then it is called flow. If something you can express for a moment of time, it is stock concept. If something you can express for a period of time, it is called flow concept. समझ गए? नहीं समझे तो क्वेश्चन करो, तब समझ जाओगे. प्रॉफिट ऑफ ए कंपनी, स्टॉक और फ्लो. How many of you think that profit of a company is flow? And how many of you think stock? Okay. So should I ask you, just देखो एक question पूछते, and you have to tell that which question is correct. Which question is correct? Profit of SR Private Limited on 31st March midnight. This is one question. The second question is प्रॉफिट ऑफ एसआर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड इन 12 मंथ्स, कौन सा करेक्ट है? सेकेंड। सेकेंड करेक्ट है। प्रॉफिट कैन नॉट बी कैलकुलेटेड फॉर अ मोमेंट। जैसे व्हाट इज द प्रॉफिट ऑफ एसआर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड ऑन 29th जनवरी 3 PM, यू कैन नॉट टेल द प्रॉफिट। एक मोमेंट में प्रॉफिट नहीं होता, यू कैलकुलेट प्रॉफिट फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। मनी इन योर पॉकेट, मनी इन योर पॉकेट स्टॉक है। I should not ask that what is the money in your pocket from morning to evening, it will change. So I should ask that what is the money in your pocket at a particular moment, this is stock concept. समझ गए? So एक और क्वेश्चन बता दो, पता चल जाए। एसेट्स, और क्वेश्चन पे ध्यान दो। एसेट्स ऑफ एसआर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू थिंक स्टॉक? And how many of you think flow? Assets of SR Private Limited. आपको लगता है फ्लो है? देखो, कॉन्फिडेंस आना ज्यादा जरूरी है रादर देन कि क्वेश्चन गलत है या सही है, ठीक है? हाउ मच मनी इन योर पॉकेट, क्या स्टॉक या फ्लो? हाउ मच मनी इन योर पॉकेट स्टॉक है। हाउ मेनी चेयर्स with SR Private Limited, stock या flow? Stock है। How many chairs, buildings, cameras, boards with SR Private Limited? Stock है। How much assets of SR Private Limited? Stock, stock है। How many chairs with SR Private Limited? It can change. I should ask that what is the assets of SR Private Limited right now. It may change after 1 hour. चलो दूसरा क्वेश्चन। बकेट, वाटर इन द बकेट, स्टॉक और फ्लो? स्टॉक। वाटर पोर्ड इन द बकेट, फ्लो। वाटर पोर्ड इन द बकेट, आई शुड आस्क दैट हाउ मच वाटर वाज पोर्ड इन द बकेट इन द लास्ट 1 hour. So if we can express something for a period of time, flow है, and if I can ask something for a moment of time, it is stock. ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है इन्वेस्टमेंट समझने की। तो स्टॉक और फ्लो में किसी को डाउट? क्लियर? और इस पे आप और सोचना, इफ यू हैव, बिकॉज यू थिंक अबाउट एनीथिंग एंड देन यू आस्क सर ये स्टॉक होगा या फ्लो होगा। नाउ यू हैव टू थिंक ओवर इट, ठीक है? मनी इन द इकोनॉमी, स्टॉक और फ्लो? चलो ठीक है, आप ही को इसका आंसर देना। सुनो, मनी इन योर पॉकेट, स्टॉक। मनी इन दिस क्लासरूम, स्टॉक। मनी इन दिस कंट्री, स्टॉक। मनी आपके पास कितना है, क्लासरूम में कितना पैसा है, करोल बाग में कितना पैसा, इकोनॉमी। इफ मनी इन योर पॉकेट स्टॉक है, तो मनी इन द पॉकेट ऑफ ऑल द इंडियंस स्टॉक। मनी इन इकोनॉमी स्टॉक है। मनी पम्प्ड इन द इकोनॉमी, फ्लो है। हाउ मच मनी गॉट पम्प्ड इन द इकोनॉमी in a particular period, in a particular year, I should ask. I should not ask that how much money was pumped at a moment, how much money was pumped in a period of time. Fees collected by SR Private Limited, stock or flow? Flow है। Fees collected by SR Private Limited, flow है। Money in the account of SR Private Limited, stock। Money in the account of SR Private Limited, stock। एक से, हाँ, किसको डाउट है बताओ?
जब आपने फी कलेक्ट किया तो वो फ्लो हो गया,
हाँ,
अकाउंट में तो वो स्टॉक हो गया,
राइट।
और अल्टीमेटली तो अकाउंट में ही जाता है फी कलेक्ट करने के लिए।
अरे मेरे क्वेश्चन पे पूछो, देखो आप समझो, सुनो एक सेकंड, कॉन्सेंट्रेट करके सुनो। आई विल आस्क यू, कैपिटल गुड्स प्रोड्यूस्ड इन द इकोनॉमी, स्टॉक या फ्लो? Goods produced in the economy, stock or flow? Goods produced in the economy is stock or flow? How many of you think is stock है? How many of you think ये flow है? Goods produced in the economy. अच्छा ठीक है, आप ऐसे देखो जज करते हैं. Should I ask how much goods was produced at .3 p.m. or how much goods produced in one day? One day. एक मोमेंट पे, मोमेंट एक पल होता है, बहुत छोटा होता है, ठीक है, इनफाइनाइटली स्मॉल होता है. I should always ask कि goods produced in a period of time. ठीक है, goods produced in a period of time.
Sir, is capital nothing but investment, or can we say that capital is also an investment?
We'll come to that. पहले ये stock और flow clarify कर लो कि it is going to confuse you for the next 4 days. I will stock, that's I said, if you can express something for a moment of time, is stock. If you can express something for a period of time, it is flow. Right? नहीं, आप सुनते नहीं हो ध्यान से ना, सुनो ध्यान. Capital goods produced in the economy. Flow है. Capital goods produced in the economy because production एक मोमेंट में नहीं हो सकता, it is a period of time. Capital goods produced in the economy flow है. Capital goods present in the economy stock. तो ये मत पूछे कि सर capital goods तो आपने flow, क्वेश्चन पूरा सुनो तो capital goods produced is flow, capital goods lying stock. अभी कॉन्सेप्ट समझ गए? तो बोर्ड पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करो इधर, क्योंकि जो भी आप लिखने की कोशिश कर रहे हो हमने भी लिखा है, ठीक है, और इसीलिए लिखा है ताकि आप बोर्ड पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट कर सकें. देयर इज अ फैक्ट्री. द वैल्यू ऑफ दिस फैक्ट्री इज ₹1000. वैल्यू ऑफ द फैक्ट्री, यू कैन एक्सप्रेस द फैक्ट्री इन टर्म्स ऑफ रुपीज ना, कितने रुपीज की फैक्ट्री, कितने रुपीज का कैपिटल. This factory produces ₹70 consumption good, ₹30 capital good in 1 year. हाँ, 700 होना चाहिए ना, यही सबसे बड़ा कंफ्यूजन. किसको किसको लगता है कि ये 700 और 300 होना चाहिए? देखो, पहले बात तो डरो नहीं और दूसरी बात शर्माओ नहीं, ठीक है. इट्स जस्ट वेस्ट योर टाइम एंड माई टाइम. तो जो भी है फ्रैंकली बोलो, और डरने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, इतना मैं स्ट्रिक्ट तो हूँ नहीं. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू थिंक दिस वुड बी 700 एंड 300? आपको लगता है? आपको भी लगता है? आ रहे हैं, रुक जाओ. एक बर्गर मशीन है ये. इफ द बर्गर मशीन इज वर्थ ₹1 लाख, इफ द बर्गर मशीन इज वर्थ ₹1 लाख, एक साल में वो 1 लाख का ही बर्गर प्रोड्यूस करेगी? नहीं, वो मशीन की वैल्यू 1 लाख है ना. इट कैन प्रोड्यूस बर्गर्स वर्थ ₹10, वर्थ ₹100, वर्थ ₹1 crore, आई डोंट नो. अभी आओगे आप. ये फैक्ट्री की वैल्यू 1 लाख, अरे 1000 है. इन 1 ईयर इट इज प्रोड्यूसिंग आउटपुट वर्थ ₹100. सो द कैपेसिटी ऑफ दिस फैक्ट्री इज टू प्रोड्यूस ₹100 ऑफ गुड्स, 70 कंजम्पशन, 30 कैपिटल इन अ ईयर. नेक्स्ट ईयर अगेन इट विल प्रोड्यूस 70 एंड 30, क्योंकि इसकी यही कैपेसिटी. सपोज इन इंडिया 31st March 2015 ये डेट, ठीक है. ऑन 31st March 2015 what was the capital stock? 1000. 31st March 2015 को what was the capital stock in the economy? 1000 rupees. That capital stock produced 30 rupees of capital goods, because to produce capital goods you require capital, to produce consumption goods you require capital. दोनों के लिए capital चाहिए होता है, right? So on 31st March 2015 we had rupees 1000 of capital stock that produced 70 rupees of consumption goods and 30 rupees of capital goods in 1 year, right? Next year, how many of you think that output will be more than 100? समझना तभी हाथ उठाना. How many of you think that output will be more than 100? Why more than 100? This 70 rupees consumption goods will be lost, transformed, consumed. This will remain in the economy. This will get added in the capital stock of the economy. Here the capital stock will be, on 31st March 2016, capital stock will be 1030. So here we have capital stock 1000. Here we have capital stock 1000 plus 30. This year, so 1000 of capital stock was producing this much of output. 1030 of capital stock will produce more than 100 output. More than 100 output. Suppose it is 80 plus 30. 80 consumption, 30 capital. Possible, कुछ भी कर सकते, but it will be more than 100, right? Because see, your output is, production of output is dependent on what was the capital stock in the economy. So the basic limiting criteria of production is capital stock. If your capital stock increases, overall output increases. What is the investment in 16? Acha, before that, so capital in the economy is stock concept, right? And capital goods produced flow. Investment is stock or flow? सोच लो आराम से, 2 मिनट टाइम है. Investment in the economy is stock or flow? How many of you think stock? अच्छा, so investment मतलब, उधर नहीं देखो, investment मतलब
30% जो additional हुआ है वो capital जाके जोड़ जाएगा.
Investment means capital goods produced. Investment means capital goods produced. Stock or flow? Output produced, flow है. Consumption goods produced in the economy, flow or stock? Flow. जब total output produced flow है, consumption goods produced flow, capital goods produced flow. Capital goods produced भी flow है. देखो भाई, investment means capital goods produced in a particular period. ठीक है. Whatever investment is in a particular period, that investment gets added in the capital stock of the economy. So investment is flow or stock? Flow. If we are having investment in the economy, capital stock will increase. If here all the goods are consumption goods, capital stock will remain same. ठीक है. Investment in 16-17, investment in 16-17 rupees 30. इसको परसेंटेज में कैसे बताओगे? Investment in 16-17 percentage terms. Total output, investment मतलब क्या आता हो? Total output का whatever is the capital goods. Total output is 110. Capital goods is 30. So this is the investment. What is the investment in 15-16? देखो भाई, whatever output we produced, some part is consumption goods, some part is investment goods, इसको बोलते हैं capital goods. Out of the total final output, some part is consumption goods and some part is capital goods. The capital goods part is called investment, so we always calculate investment in terms of the total output. जैसे last year this was 168 lakh crore, उसमें 28% capital and 72% consumption. Clear है? बता रहे हैं. समझ गए ये डाउट है तो बताओ, तो डाउट नहीं तो एक क्वेश्चन बताओ आप, और सोच के बताना, ठीक है, कॉन्सेंट्रेट करके सुनना क्वेश्चन. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द इकोनॉमी इज डिक्रीजिंग. इन्वेस्टमेंट, अरे मैं पूछ नहीं रहा हूं, मैं बता रहा हूं अभी, ठीक है. आई एम टेलिंग यू अ फैक्ट सो दैट आई कैन आस्क यू सम क्वेश्चन. हिंदी लैंग्वेज के साथ यही प्रॉब्लम है, कभी कभी मतलब क्वेश्चन भी आंसर लगता है और आंसर भी क्वेश्चन लगता है. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द इकोनॉमी इज डिक्रीजिंग. व्हाट यू कैन से अबाउट द आउटपुट? विल इट investment? Let me write. So the question is, investment is decreasing. When I write this statement, what do you understand by this statement? Production of capital goods is decreasing. ठीक है. So investment is decreasing. What you can say about the output or GDP? Will it increase? Will it decrease? Will it remain constant? Or you can't say? ये सबसे सफेस्ट ऑप्शन होता है, कांट से. दिमाग पे जोरी नहीं डालना, कांट से बोल दो आप. अच्छा ठीक है, बोल. So this is increasing, this is decreasing, investment is decreasing. How many of you think that option A is correct? In terms, I am asking, investment is decreasing, output means GDP, output will, A option, how many of you think is true? B? इधर देखो आप, इन्वेस्टमेंट इज इंक्रीजिंग और डिक्रीजिंग और रिमेनिंग सेम? इन टर्म्स ऑफ एब्सोल्यूट वैल्यू इट इज सेम, इन टर्म्स ऑफ परसेंटेज इट इज डिक्रीजिंग. इन टर्म्स ऑफ परसेंटेज इन्वेस्टमेंट इज, यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट 30% है, हियर इट इज लेस देन 30%. ठीक है. Whenever we say investment is increasing, we always mean in terms of percentage. Absolute value generally we don't. So investment percentage is decreasing. What you can say about the output? अच्छा चलो. Before that, let me ask second question. If investment in the economy is zero, investment is zero, output will increase or decrease? Remain same. Remain same. If there is a factory, it is producing 100 rupees of burgers, next day again it will produce 100, it will remain same. If there is some investment in the economy, then capital stock increases and then output increases. Wear and tear को भी छोड़ दो, कितना होगा? So what I mean to say is कि if we are having even 1% of investment, output next year will increase. If investment is zero, means we are not producing capital goods, all are consumption goods, next year output will remain same. So I am talking about this percentage terms because we always express in percentage terms. In terms of percentage I am talking. Investment is increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. Investment is decreasing. Here capital stock is 1000 plus 60. Output will be more than 110 or less than 110? More than 110. Suppose it is सपोज ठीक है 120 आउटपुट हो गया. नेक्स्ट ईयर आउटपुट विल बी मोर देन दिस और लेस देन दिस? Here output is 120. Output here will be more than 120, less than 120. More than 120. Why more than 120? Because here capital stock is more. 1000 plus 85. So if this capital stock will keep on increasing, your output will always increase. And this capital stock will keep on increasing even if we have 1% of investment. If investment becomes 0, then capital stock will remain same and output will remain same. So if investment is क्या हो रहा है? Decreasing. Investment is decreasing percentage terms and output is increasing. So if investment decreases, output increases. If investment decreases, output increases. Because even if investment is decreasing, your capital stock is increasing. That is why your output increases. और ये fact भी है economy का. 2007-8 investment was 38%. 2007-8, 2017-18. When I write 38% means 7-8 may out of the total output 38% was capital. Investment decreased consistently and your GDP has always increased. Your output has always increased, growth has fluctuated, but your output, overall output has always increased because our capital stock has always increased. If this will become 0, then output will remain same. So every year our output is increasing, every year. Even if investment is declining, our output is increasing. But growth may fluctuate. किसको डाउट है इसमें? देखो आप पूछ लो इसको क्योंकि आगे चल के यू विल गेट स्टक. देखो ये इतिहास नहीं कि मैं फिर से कहानी को समरी बता दूं. जो लोग बोलते हैं कि सर एक बार थोड़ा सा ओवरऑल फिर से बता दीजिए ना, मैं समझ जाता हूं कि उनको कुछ समझ में आया ही नहीं है. हाँ, कैपेसिटी ऑफ इकोनॉमी टू प्रोड्यूस को बोलते हैं कैपिटल स्टॉक. ठीक है. आई एम नॉट, आई विल कम इनटू रियल एंड नॉमिनल. इफ योर कैपिटल स्टॉक इज इन, वी हैव नॉट कम टू द डिमांड थिंग. ठीक है, उस पर भी हम लोग आएंगे. बट इफ योर कैपिटल स्टॉक इज इंक्रीजिंग, आउटपुट विल इंक्रीज. ऑफ कोर्स डिमांड इज वन कंसर्न, बट टू इंक्रीज, इफ योर कैपिटल स्टॉक रिमेन सेम, output will remain same. Clear है? हाँ, क्या बढ़ा है? कैपिटल स्टॉक कहाँ से? देखो भाई, मेरे पास 100 रुपीज थे, मेरे पॉकेट में 100 रुपीज हैं. कैप स्टॉक और फ्लो? स्टॉक. मॉर्निंग में 100 रुपीज थे, स्टॉक था. In one day I earned 20 rupees. In one day I earned 20 rupees. In the evening, the stock of money in my pocket will increase. If the economy produces capital goods, the stock of capital goods will increase. So economy is producing capital goods every year. So by the end of every year, our stock is increasing, and output always depends on capital stock. क्या डाउट है बताओ? और आप लोग पर कल के क्लास के पहले एवरीवन मस्ट प्रैक्टिस वेटेड एवरेज। वेटेड एवरेज सीख के आना, नहीं तो हम लोग एक सीसेट का बैच भी लॉन्च कर रहे हैं। आप लोग जस्ट किडिंग, आप लोग वेटेड एवरेज क्लास के पहले कल सीख के आओगे, ठीक है? हाँ, क्योंकि कल की क्लास में विल रिक्वायर दिस वेटेड एवरेज थी। हाँ, तो if you will not produce capital goods, your stock will not increase. If your stock will not increase, even the production of consumption goods will remain same. If you will stop producing capital goods, our output will remain stuck. It will not increase. Will produce the same thing every year. Stagnant हो जाएगा. Economy will remain stagnant. Clear? और देखो इकोनॉमी सब्जेक्ट ऐसा है ना कि आप एकदम रिलैक्स होकर नहीं बैठ सकते हो, थोड़ा सा दिमाग पे जोर आपको भी डालना पड़ेगा, ठीक? थोड़ा सा एफर्ट, थोड़ा सा दिमाग को भी आपको एग्जर्ट करना होगा टू अंडरस्टैंड दोज थिंग्स, ठीक है? एंड ट्राई टू यूज दिस फॉर्मल टर्मिनोलॉजी, ठीक है? कैपिटल, आप सोचो कि वेदर यू आर सेइंग कि कैपिटल गुड्स, कैपिटल स्टॉक, प्रोडक्शन ऑफ कैपिटल गुड्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट, सब में स्लाइट डिफरेंसेस है। इन्वेस्टमेंट इज अबाउट प्रोडक्शन ऑफ कैपिटल गुड्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट इज स्टॉक और फ्लो, फ्लो है, बिकॉज इन्वेस्टमेंट इज प्रोडक्शन ऑफ कैपिटल गुड्स, ठीक है? इफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इज हैपनिंग इन इकोनॉमी, योर कैपिटल स्टॉक विल ऑलवेज इंक्रीज। आप लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट और कैपिटल स्टॉक में कंफ्यूज कर जाते हो ना। इन्वेस्टमेंट मींस 1 ईयर में हाउ मच कैपिटल गुड्स यू प्रोड्यूस, एंड कैपिटल स्टॉक इज एक्यूमुलेटेड। कैपिटल स्टॉक इज you have 100 rupees in pocket, you earn 20 rupees, so even if you earn less than 100, your stock of money will increase. So investment is production of capital goods, and capital stock is all the accumulated production, all the accumulated capital till now. So if you produce 30 rupees of capital goods investment, your stock increases. So if someone asks you that what is the capital stock in the economy, so all the building, factories, everything in India will be equal to capital stock. And now you think of how much goods India is producing, it depends on capital stock. It depends on capital stock. And that is why two countries exactly at the same level of development, same capital stock. If one country starts producing 30% capital goods, other country starts producing 40% capital goods, in future which country will be able to produce more? Those who are producing 40, क्योंकि उसका capital stock will increase. This has happened with China. This has happened with China. And that is why there is a lot of focus on, देखो, every country is trying to become rich. To become rich, you will have to produce more. Then only you will be able to consume more. To produce more, you should produce more capital goods. And then only your capital stock will increase, then your further production increases. So that is why there is a lot of focus on investment. Because how much output you will produce, it will depend on how much investment you are doing every year. And that has declined in India in the last 10 years. Because the demand of investment, who demands this capital goods? Private sector, their demand declined. इसीलिए एनपीए को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए वी आर ट्राइंग अ लॉट, क्योंकि इफ एनपीए विल नॉट गेट रिजॉल्व, द डिमांड फॉर प्राइवेट, द डिमांड ऑफ प्राइवेट सेक्टर फॉर कैपिटल गुड्स विल नेवर कम. गवर्नमेंट परचेजेस कैपिटल गुड्स और नॉट? यस, बट जो 28% कैपिटल गुड्स प्रोड्यूस हम लोग कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. Private is also purchasing, government is also purchasing. Government purchases very less. Most of the capital goods is purchased by private sector. Private sector demand decline, so investment decline. So when private sector demand of capital goods decline, government has increased the purchase of capital goods so that कि थोड़ा investment बढ़ जाए. When I say कि government has increased the purchase of capital goods, and that's only because private sector is purchasing less capital goods. So government has increased the purchase of capital goods. That means government is constructing more roads, more railways, right? So government has increased the purchase of capital goods means you are producing railways and selling it to government. You are producing roads and selling it to government. So government has started demanding more capital goods just because private sector demand has reduced. If government will also not purchase capital goods, investment will further decline and our growth will further decline. So generally, whenever private investment means whatever capital goods purchased by the private sector, when private investment declines, government increases the purchase of capital, government increases its own investment. It happens in almost every economy. Otherwise, our growth will further fall down. ठीक है? We'll understand these things.
Why is that only when a private sector purchases the capital goods, the size of the economy increases? Why not?
नहीं, even if government will purchase the capital goods, size of economy will increase.
Yeah, but why do we prefer? I mean, only because of the efficiency.
क्योंकि
or-
government is less efficient. This government has accepted. Government is less efficient.
Government is purchasing more capital goods to provide us services.
हाँ, government is purchasing, बता रहा हूँ आपको एक सेकंड. See, the whole focus is on more output should be produced. To produce more output, more capital goods will be produced. But capital goods will be produced if someone will demand capital goods. If someone will demand capital goods, private sector, external sector will come to that. Private sector and government sector purchases capital goods. If private demand is declining, what option is left with the government? They purchase more capital. Even if they are purchasing more capital goods, that is there in the economy, next year output will increase. But if private sector is purchasing machines and setting up factory, or government is purchasing machines and setting up factory, how does it make a difference? That is there in the economy, next year output will increase, even if private sector is purchasing capital goods or government is purchasing capital goods. The capital stock of the economy is increasing. Don't say capital investment. Investment itself is capital goods. हाँ, so investment. Output increases with increasing level. हाँ, that is right. That you will have to check with other factors also. You cannot say exactly.
Investment decreases, output increases or constant but decreasing level.
That is true.
30% less on the investment into capital goods, 30% less on goods, 95% investments will decrease by 4.5%. 30 to 24.5%.
हाँ, आप अलग से पूछ लेना ये चीज़. पूछो अभी आप ना. क्या डाउट क्या है स्पेसिफिकली बताओ. सेपरेटली आप पूछ लेना ये. ठीक है. जो हमने एग्जांपल लिया था, जब हम मिटा दिए तब क्यों पूछते हो? आपका रिजॉल्व हो जाएगा डाउट. जब था तभी पूछ लेना चाहिए. हाँ, economy which are dominated by services sector, no, you are talking about share. ठीक है, you are talking about share, ऐसा नहीं है. We will discuss that services, then you ask this thing. 1000 rupees of factory produce 70 rupees consumption goods, 30 rupees capital goods. Now this factory worked for a year. This factory worked for a year. So this factory worked for a year, तो थोड़ा wear and tear होगा, right? So suppose there was some wear and tear worth rupees 5. 5 rupees का इसमें wear and tear हो गया. So this factory means this machine, this capital goods, कितना loss हो गया capital goods? 5 rupees का. Total capital goods produced? Gross investment in 1718 rupees 30. Net capital goods produced in 1718 25. Because 1718 mein we produced 30 rupees of capital goods and there was a loss of 5 rupees of capital goods. So net capital goods produced 25. Net investment उसी को बोलते हैं. ग्रॉस इन्वेस्टमेंट माइनस डेप्रिसिएशन और वियर एंड टीयर, सो 30 माइनस 5 इज इक्वल टू 20. ग्रॉस आउटपुट प्रोड्यूस्ड, देखो ना यहां पे देखो, ग्रॉस आउटपुट 100 और नेट आउटपुट 95. टू प्रोड्यूस 100 rupees of output, how many rupees of output got lost? 5 rupees. ग्रॉस आउटपुट, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं जीडीपी 100. नेट आउटपुट, नेट आउटपुट मीन्स नेट डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट. ग्रॉस से नेट लाने के लिए यू डू ग्रॉस आउटपुट माइनस डेप्रिसिएशन. ठीक है. So whenever we do gross to net, just understand that ki depreciation has been subtracted. Why there is a lot of focus on investment? Because that increases the output production. इधर देखो आप, टू 2017-18 output produced was 70 consumption plus 30 investment ₹30 और 30%. ठीक है, ये दोनों ठीक है, दोनों है. इधर वी ऑलवेज से परसेंटेज टर्म्स में बताना चाहिए. ठीक, 70 rupees consumption goods we produce, 30 rupees capital goods we produce. This 30 rupees capital goods we exported. Output next year, output next year will be 100. This got exported na. If this got exported, investment in the economy 0. Investment in 1718, if this is exported, investment in 1718 is 0 because this capital goods gone abroad. And if investment is 0, output next year will remain 0. So जो आपने definition लिखा है कि that part of the output which consists of capital goods is called gross investment, ऐसे definition में कहते हैं, but that is not exactly 100% true. If some capital goods you exported abroad, that should be subtracted from the investment. And if you imported 40 rupees capital goods, so investment now is 40. If you produce 30 rupees of capital goods, 20 you exported, 40 capital goods you imported. What is the investment? Rupees 50. Investment is rupees 50. और क्यों हम लोग subtract करते हैं? ये logic clear है? Because if you are producing capital goods, it is being sold abroad. It is not going to increase the output of the economy in the next year. So we remove from investment. So here the investment is how many rupees? 50. And in terms of percentage, rupees 50 upon we. देखो भाई देखो, आपकी इनकम 10 लाख, ठीक, आपकी इनकम 10 लाख. जैसे सपोज नेपाल, आपने 1 करोड़, आपने मुकेश अंबानी बोरोड 1000 करोड़, ठीक है, यू ऑल्सो बोरोड 1000 करोड़, दोनों सेम है. आप बैंकक्रप्ट हो जाओगे, उनको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ेगा. You should always express these things in terms of the size of person economy. इंडिया का जो साइज है वो है 168 लाख करोड़, इंडिया का जीडीपी. सो ऑल most of the variables, most of the parameters we express in terms of India's GDP. What is the India GDP here? Whatever is produced within boundary. GDP is 100. Whatever is produced within boundary is GDP. So GDP is 100. Investment is 50. Investment percentage is 50%. You should always express all the parameters in terms of the GDP of Indian economy. या तो बोल दो रुपीज 50 इन्वेस्टमेंट है, फाइन, बट एब्सोल्यूट वैल्यू डजंट मेक सेंस. जैसे समवन सेड कि इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट 1 लाख करोड़, नेपाल में इन्वेस्टमेंट 1 लाख करोड़, दोनों सेम है, एब्सोल्यूट टर्म्स में सेम है, बट 1 लाख करोड़ नेपाल के लिए इट्स टू मच, इंडिया के लिए इट्स वेरी लेस. ऑलवेज इन साइज. सो ये समझ गया आप. So investment is equal to whatever capital goods we produced minus exports, export of capital goods plus import of capital, and it makes sense. रटने की कोशिश कभी नहीं करना इकोनॉमी में, जिंदगी में कभी समझ में नहीं आएगा.
But when we sell our 20% or
20 rupees of capital goods,
20 rupees, but we get not 20 rupees.
हाँ राइट, वी गेट. मैंने ये कहा क्या कि मैंने सुनो, a factory in India produced 70 rupees consumption, 30 rupees capital. 30 rupees आप abroad सेल कर दिए, आपको पैसा मिला, पैसा बैंक में रखो और पॉकेट में रखो, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट ईयर जो आउटपुट प्रोड्यूस होता है, दैट इज फ्रॉम द फिजिकल कैपिटल, दैट आउटपुट विल नॉट इंक्रीज.
When we get money,
हाँ, you get money, your money increases, then
I will invest now in.
you will, with that money, you may set up a factory, import capital goods. So in next further years it will be counted, but this year investment is zero. How we will say that you earned rupees 30, your saving is rupees 30, but investment is zero. नेक्स्ट उसका इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा, ठीक है. नाउ जो नेक्स्ट टॉपिक जीडीपी, ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट. ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट, द टोटल फाइनल वैल्यू ऑफ, लिखो, द टोटल फाइनल वैल्यू ऑफ, the total final value of goods and services the total final value of goods and services produced within the geographical boundary of a country, the total final value of goods and services produced within the geographical boundary of a country in a particular time period, in a particular time period, generally a financial year, is called GDP. ठीक है? The total final value of goods and services produced within the geographical boundary in a particular period, generally a financial year. So in the burger example, they all produced burger worth rupees 100, so GDP was 100. How much they all got? 100, because whatever is produced that they get as profit, interest and invoices. Then whatever they spent or saved, that total is also GDP. So GDP can be calculated in three ways. कितना हमने produce किया, that is GDP. Whatever is earned by the four factors of production, that is also GDP. Whatever is expenditure plus saving, that is also GDP. Three methods of calculation of GDP. First is value added method. बोर्ड पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करो. Let's take an example. There is a farmer and a baker. There are two people. Farmer is producing wheat, rupees 50. Farmer produced wheat worth rupees 100, 50 rupees wheat he consumed himself, 50 rupees wheat he sold to the baker. Baker got this rupees 50 wheat. With his own skills, he did some value addition and converted into bread, whose price is rupees 200. ठीक है? समझ गए example? What do you understand by value addition? Value addition means 20 rupees का मैंने coal purchase किया, and with my skills I converted into steel whose price is 50. 20 rupees का purchase किया, I converted into steel whose price is 50. What is the value addition of 30? Value addition means value of my work in the market. Value of my work in the market. What value my work can fetch in the market. I purchased coal worth rupees 20, converted into steel whose price is 50. I consumed that steel. My value addition. My value addition. Value addition doesn't mean whether I sold or consumed, doesn't matter. What is the value of my work? 30. Whether I am selling or consuming doesn't matter. How much value my work can fetch in the market. That is called value addition. In this method, we calculate GDP. In this method, we calculate GDP as value added by all firms present in the economy. Value added by all firms. So in this method, अभी आप लिखो नहीं, पहले 2 मिनट समझ लो. Value added by all firms. How many firms are there? 2. Value addition by farmer. Value addition by baker. Value addition by farmer. Assume that farmer has not used any input, he has produced wheat from scratch. He has not used any, just this is an assumption. Value addition by farmer. How many of you think that value addition by farmer is 100? And rest, बाकी लोग क्या सोचते हो? Okay, so I didn't use anything, I produced wheat worth rupees 100. ठीक? I produced wheat worth rupees 100. What is my value addition? 100. If I consume that wheat, what is the value addition? 100. So value addition by farmer 100 hai bhai. Whether he is selling or consuming doesn't matter. What is the value of his work in the market? 100. His work can fetch 100 rupees. He is consuming, that doesn't matter. He has done work worth rupees 100. So value of work done basically 100. So value addition by farmer is 100. Value addition by baker 150. GDP is rupees 250. एक सेकंड रुक जाओ भैया. Let's cross check this. To cross check this, what is the standard definition of GDP? Final value of all goods. How many goods are there? 2. Wheat and bread. Final value of all goods. There are 2 goods. Final value of wheat plus final value of bread. Final value of wheat. Final value of wheat. Final value of wheat. This wheat is intermediate. This wheat is intermediate. This wheat is final. ये intermediate. Final value of wheat is 50. Final value of bread is 200. 250. That wheat is intermediate. अब आप लिख सकते हो जो लिखना है. कोई डाउट है तो आप पूछ भी सकते हो. राइट. इन द मार्केट. ठीक है. राइट. तो वैल्यू उसको बोलते हैं वैल्यू एडिशन. सी आप समझो वैल्यू एडिशन का मैंने इतनी बार डिफरेंस बोला. वैल्यू एडिशन मीन्स हाउ मच वैल्यू योर वर्क कैन फेच. हाउ मच इट फेच नहीं, हाउ मच वैल्यू इट कैन फेच. वैल्यू ऑफ योर वर्क इन द मार्केट. Whether you are consuming that in, that doesn't matter. You produce, that's all. Value of your production, you can say. थोड़ा तेज बोलो, और लोग भी कोई भी डाउट होगा तो क्लैरिफाई हो जाएगा. वो 100 रुपये नहीं कमा रहा, वो 50 रुपये कमा रहा है. वैल्यू ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. हाँ. हाँ हाँ. तो इसके पास कुछ नहीं था, इसके पास कुछ नहीं था, इसने अपने स्किल से कितने रुपीस का गुड्स प्रोड्यूस किया? 100. सो हिज वैल्यू एडिशन इज 100. वो कूड़े में फेंक दिया, खा गया, सेल कर दिया, डजंट मैटर. सेल कर दिया. हाँ. तो आप दोनों मेथड से कैलकुलेट कर सकते हो. वैल्यू एडिशन बाय एवरी फर्म और फाइनल गुड्स प्रोड्यूस्ड इन द इकोनॉमी. कैसे भी कैलकुलेट. ठीक है. सेकेंड मेथड इज इनकम मेथड. इनकम मेथड, इसका एग्जाम्पल आप ऑलरेडी देख चुके हो. इनकम मेथड में व्हाट वी डू, वी ऐड द इनकम ऑफ 4 फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स. वॉट एवर वी ऑल प्रोड्यूस, दैट इज जीडीपी. वॉट एवर वी ऑल गॉट एज रेंट, इंटरेस्ट, वेजेस एंड प्रॉफिट, दैट इज ऑल्सो जीडीपी. सो यू जस्ट ऐड. इनकम मेथड वी कैलकुलेट जीडीपी एज सम ऑफ profit, rent, interest, कल का आया था नहीं, 100 आया था, because whatever we are going to produce ultimately it will come to us as the 4 factors of products. ठीक है, भाई कोई इनपुट्स जो 4 फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है, इट कैन बी एन एक्सटर्नल इनपुट. Now the third method is expenditure. Whatever we produce, that is called GDP. Who purchases that GDP? 4 sectors. So if we can add the expenditure done by the 4 sectors on the purchase of goods produced within our boundary, that will also give GDP. So let's add the expenditure of the 4 sectors on the purchase of goods domestically produced. That should give GDP. So here what we do is GDP is equal to, प्लीज पेन पेपर रख दो इधर, देख लो, उसके बाद आप लिख लेना. So whatever is produced, that is GDP, and that produced output is purchased by the 4 sectors. So let's add the expenditure done by the 4 sectors. Expenditure done by the household sector. Household sector purchases consumption goods. So expenditure done by the household sector is suppose C dash. ठीक है. So what is C dash? Expenditure done by the household sector on domestically produced consumption. Why domestically produced हम लोग ले रहे हैं? Because we are calculating GDP. ठीक है, we are calculating GDP means we are calculating the goods produced within boundary. So we should not add the expenditure of the household sector on imported goods. ठीक है. So we are going to add the expenditure done by all the 4 sectors on the goods domestically produced. Expenditure done by the private sector on domestically produced capital goods. IDES investment बोलते हैं. Expenditure done by the private sector on domestically produced capital goods. Expenditure done by the government sector on domestically produced both consumption and capital goods. And expenditure done by the external sector on the purchase of both consumption and capital from India, that is called export. इसमें import subtract होना चाहिए या नहीं? How many of you think कि होना चाहिए? होना चाहिए. And how many of you think नहीं होना चाहिए? क्यों होना चाहिए भाई? किसने किसने एनसीईआरटी पढ़ी है 12th में एक्रो? किसी ने नहीं पढ़ी. ये इंपोर्ट होना चाहिए, कहां से आपको पता चला? इधर देखो आप, सी इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ रहे हो आप तो ऑलवेज ट्रस्ट योर लॉजिक. ऑलवेज ट्रस्ट योर लॉजिक. क्या सुना था, क्या देखा था, ऐसा भी कहीं बुक में लिखा था? Never ever trust. Always trust your logic. Whatever is produced, that is called GDP. Who purchases the GDP? 4 sectors. If I added the expenditure done by the 4 sectors on the purchase of goods from India, why we should subtract import? अगर हम import 10 लाख करोड़ का कर रहे हैं, how does it matter? We are calculating how much was produced. How much is imported, how does it matter? Of course you can import goods. हम लोग कर क्या रहे हैं? We are calculating what is produced within our boundary. So why we should add import here or subtract import here? एक सेकेंड. इधर देखो आप, we produced 100 rupees of goods. Within boundary कितना प्रोड्यूस हुआ? 100 हुआ, जीडीपी 100, जो 100 प्रोड्यूस हुआ, हु विल परचेज? 4 सेक्टर्स, गवर्नमेंट परचेज 20, हाउसहोल्ड सेक्टर परचेज 30, प्राइवेट सेक्टर परचेज 40, एक्सटर्नल सेक्टर परचेज 10. व्हाट इज द जीडीपी? 100. 1 लाख करोड़ का इंपोर्ट कर लिए, क्या करें इसका? ऐड करें, सब्ट्रैक्ट करें? कुछ नहीं करना. क्यों करें हम? वी आर कैलकुलेटिंग जीडीपी ना. वी आर कैलकुलेटिंग जीडीपी मीन्स वॉट एवर इज प्रोड्यूस, जो भी प्रोड्यूस होता है इट मस्ट बी परचेज बाय द 4 सेक्टर. क्या इंडिया में आया? हाउ डज इट मैटर? इट डजंट मैटर. कहां देखे हो ये चीज? कहीं ना कहीं तो देखे जरूर होगे आप. ठीक है, तो इंपोर्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, या किसी को लगता है होना चाहिए तो टेल मी.
सर जो इनकम है उसकी वो
आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट इनकम, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट प्रोडक्शन. कहां से करेगा? हाउ डज इट मैटर? हमने बोरो किया, नहीं एक सेकंड, हमने बोरो किया, हाउ डज इट मैटर? इसीलिए ना आप लोग कंफ्यूज कर जाते हो. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज प्रोड्यूस विद इन बाउंड. कहां से पैसा आया ये कहां मैंने बताया? जो चीज बता रहे उस पर फोकस करो. कहां से पैसा आया? हमको खजाना मिल गया.
उसके बाद भी उसको
वो बाद में क्यों जाते हो? बाद में जो मैं बोल रहा हूं कि जीडीपी इज वैल्यू ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज प्रोड्यूस्ड. जो भी प्रोड्यूस हुआ क्या हो सकता है उसका? 4 लोग परचेस करते. सो इफ वी ऐड द एक्सपेंडिचर डन बाय द 4 सेक्टर्स,
तो जो इस ईयर प्रोड्यूस हुआ जरूरी सब कुछ कंज्यूम हो गया.
अब आपने अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा, यही पूछना चाहिए था, पर बहुत स्लाइट डिफरेंस होता तो इसलिए हम लोग इग्नोर कर देते हैं उसको. ठीक, ये आपने सही क्वेश्चन पूछा कि 100 रुपीज का हमने प्रोड्यूस किया, हो सकता है 1 रुपये का चीज बचा रह जाए. तो उसको हम लोग देखते हैं, वी विल डिस्कस कि उसका क्या करते हैं हम लोग. बट डोंट से कि हमने 1 लाख करोड़ का इंपोर्ट किया तो ये जीडीपी, ये नहीं होना चाहिए ना. कहीं देखा है तो बताओ, कहीं ना कहीं देखा? किसी ने नहीं देखा कि इंपोर्ट यहां होना चाहिए? हाँ, ओके, अच्छा. सो यू सेड कि इंपोर्ट होना चाहिए या नहीं होना चाहिए? Have you ever seen that we have subtracted or added imports in this formula? No one has seen. We do subtract. Right. देखो कैसे आता है. So this is 100% true. This is 100% true. Now what is C dash? Expenditure done by the household sector on domestically produced goods. But household sector purchases imported goods also. So what we do is, C is the expenditure done by the household sector on domestic and imported both goods minus imported. So this C minus CM will give C dash. C is the total expenditure of household sector on domestic and imported both minus expenditure on imported. So this will give you C dash. Now Indian private sector purchases capital goods from India, purchases capital goods from abroad also. So I is the total expenditure of private sector on imported and imported and domestically produced both goods minus imported. Same thing is done by government. G dash is the expenditure by the government on domestically produced goods. G is the expenditure done by the government on imported and domestic both minus imported कर देंगे, तो this will give you this term plus X. Whatever is imported in India, which sectors import? All नहीं, 3 sectors. Indian government, private sector, household sector. This is the total import of India. ऐसे आता है import. What is C? Expenditure done by the household sector on consumption goods, domestic or imported or both? Both. है तो यहाँ पे लिख लो आप जो लिखना है आप। नहीं समझे? पर जीडीपी हमने क्या प्रोड्यूस किया, वो बाहर भेजा, अंदर कंज्यूम किया, डजंट मैटर, इट शुड बी काउंटेड इन जीडीपी। दैट इज जीडीपी। डजंट मैटर, डजंट मैटर, बाउंड्री में जो भी प्रोड्यूस हुआ दैट विल बी काउंटेड इन जीडीपी। बता रहे हैं if we, अच्छा by the way in these three methods CSO calculates GDP है ना? CSO calculates GDP by which method? It calculates GDP by two methods, value added and expenditure. Two methods से calculate। Suppose by value added method GDP is coming 166 lakh crore, by expenditure method it is coming 167 lakh crore. Which figure will be published? We calculate GDP by value added and expenditure both. Ideally it should come same, but such a large, such an informal economy, a lot of things we are not able to count. So sometimes by both the methods there is slight variation. There is slight variation that we declare as an error. That we declare as an error. But which method value is published officially? Value added method. So if value added method 166 lakh crore, expenditure method 167 lakh crore, that much is the error. So we will say that ki GDP is 166 lakh crore, and that much we will say that this is the error. And when it is published, अभी कौन सा क्वार्टर बीता है? अक्टूबर टू दिसंबर क्वार्टर, राइट? थर्ड क्वार्टर आ गया जीडीपी का डेटा। जीडीपी डेटा आ गया, कितना है? 7.1 और 7.2 से पहले ये पता करो आया या नहीं आया। आ गया? When the GDP data of October to December, when it comes, it is published with a lag of, with a delay of 60 days, 2 months. So it will come on 28th Feb. ठीक, जो वो जो आपने डेटा देखा है वो है जुलाई टू सितंबर क्वार्टर। 7.2 जो देखा ना आपने वो जुलाई टू सितंबर क्वार्टर, ठीक है। सो वी कैलकुलेट जीडीपी एवरी क्वार्टर, सो आफ्टर एवरी क्वार्टर 60 डेज के बाद पब्लिश होता है, एंड द फाइनेंशियल ईयर जीडीपी इट कम्स ऑन 30th मई, 60 डेज का 30th मई। किस देखो दैट ग्रोथ रेट इज आल्सो पब्लिश्ड आफ्टर 60 डेज। जब जीडीपी नहीं आएगा तो ग्रोथ कहां से आएगी? सो वैल्यू ऑफ जीडीपी एंड ग्रोथ इट इज पब्लिश्ड आफ्टर 60 डेज, ठीक है। सो आप 28 फेब को चेक करना। अच्छा एक चीज आप देखो इधर, थोड़ा सा कुछ आपके इंटेलेक्चुअल एक्साइटमेंट के लिए थोड़ा और फर्दर समझ लें। दिस इज जीडीपी। इफ आई गिव यू दिस एवरी फिगर, कैन यू टेल मी कि व्हाट इज द इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द इकोनॉमी? If I ask you कि what is the investment in the economy, which term will you say? समझ रहे हो? What is my question? Right, this is your total output. This is your total output GDP. इसका some part is investment in the economy. Which part is called investment? देखो, this part is sold abroad. This part is gone net of export. This is gone abroad. This is consumption goods. This is capital. So this total plus the capital part of G is called investment in the economy. This is called private investment. This is called government investment. When this starts declining, government starts purchasing more capital goods. So total investment in the economy is I plus part of G. Does this include imported capital goods? This I includes imported capital goods or not? No, sir. अभी यहाँ पे क्या देखे थे? This includes imported or not? तो अभी ये क्या मैं पूछ रहा हूँ? ये भी तो यही से आया ना ये? So this includes imported. और जो अभी आपने क्लास में कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ा कि imported capital goods is investment in Indian economy, that is why यहाँ include है. समझे? अभी हमने पढ़ा ना कि export part we subtract, import we add. So exported we have subtracted this. इसमें exported we subtracted and इसमें import included है. किसको किसको समझ में आ गया? बहुत कम लोग को आया. This I is the expenditure done by the Indian private sector on purchase of capital goods, domestic and imported both. क्योंकि even if Indian private sector is purchasing imported capital goods, that is investment for Indian economy. So इसलिए हम लोग बोलते हैं this is private investment. So even if they are importing, it is part of our investment. Even this can also include imported. अगर concentrate करके नहीं क्लास में होंगे तो आपको समझ में आना कुछ दिन बाद बंद हो जाएगा. So हर एक चीज समझ में आना चाहिए. जिसको नहीं समझ में आया, please ask your doubt. क्या नहीं समझ में? Everyone understood? क्या नहीं समझे? Imported capital goods are part of India's investment or not? Imported capital goods are part of India's investment or not?
Yes.
Yes, right. I includes imported capital goods or not? Yes. वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. क्या? क्या random? तो ये आप पूछो ना कि 168 लाख करोड़ में C कितना है? कैलकुलेट कर, CSO लेता है 2 महीना लेता है कैलकुलेट करने में, इसीलिए तो लगता है 2 months CSO does all this exercise. सोचो कितना कॉम्प्लेक्स, वेरी कम्बरसम एक्सरसाइज टू डू दिस. कैसे करता है छोड़ो, आप नहीं टेंशन लो कि क्या इसमें है. CSO there are various econometric tools through that they calculate, और फिर भी we are not able to measure it accurately. नहीं हो पाता. और सुने हो गया अभी 2 महीना पहले GDP बैक सीरीज में बीजेपी और कांग्रेस लड़ रहे थे. वी अंडरस्टैंड कि वो क्या इशू था. अच्छा, व्हाट डू यू थिंक, ये जो दोज पीपल, इससे ठेला है ना, दे आर सेलिंग एप्पल्स. अच्छा, इनफॉर्मल एंड फॉर्मल, there is no standard definition, but generally how it is defined is all those business units which are registered with government or which are paying any kind of tax, they come under formal enterprise. SR Private Limited formal, कोई ट्यूशन पढ़ा के पैसा कमा रहा है इनफॉर्मल. ठीक है. बिग ऐप जो बिग बाजार फॉर्मल है और बाहर कोई ठेला पे बेच रहा है मूंगफली इनफॉर्मल. Informal economic activity, do we calculate while publishing that? So जो when I am saying कि we produce 168 lakh crore last year, does it include informal economic activity? Of course yes. और informal is 40% से ज़्यादा. 168 lakh crore का 40% is informal activity. 40%. We cannot measure it accurately, but we try to extrapolate. We try to extrapolate. All these apple walas, they are purchasing apples from Azadpur Mandi. So if you know that what is the transaction in Azadpur Mandi, somehow we can extrapolate that what is it sold in the market. So we can't calculate exactly, but we try to extrapolate. Of course, informal sector is also part of our GDP. And we calculate, while we are saying 166 lakh crore, 168 lakh crore, 40% is informal. So it can't be calculated exactly. But we try to accommodate those things. कैसे करते हैं आप छोड़ दो. Every country is trying to increase the GDP, right? Why? If we will produce more, we will earn more, we will spend more, we will consume more, we will become rich, and everyone is trying to become rich. First class economy से लेके last class economy, you will be trying to become rich. आप होते हो या नहीं होते हो? That's another thing, but we will try to become rich. This is all about economy. So 15, 16 to 16-17, सपोज इंडिया, अब हम लोग क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? नेक्स्ट टॉपिक. अच्छा, सपोज अज्यूम दैट यू डोंट हैव एनी क्लास आफ्टर 5 PM. तो कितने देर तक आप इकोनॉमी झेल सकते हो, मतलब समझ सकते हो? हाँ, देखो पढ़ाना इज क्वाइट इजी. ठीक है, नींद में भी उठोगे पूछोगे तो मैं बता दूंगा ये. ठीक है, क्योंकि एवरी टाइम दिस इकोनॉमी इज गोइंग. तो पढ़ाने में कोई मतलब मेंटल नहीं लगता है. ठीक है, आपको एब्जॉर्ब करना है. ठीक है, सो इट विल ऑलवेज बी मोर डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू रादर देन मी. मेरे फिजिकल स्टेमिना पे मैटर करता है और आपके मेंटल पे स्ट्रेस पे मैटर करता है कि आप कितना एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हैं. तो हमारी बात छोड़ दो, आप अपनी बात बताओ कि आई एम जस्ट इनफॉर्मली आस्किंग कि कितने देर तक आप इकोनॉमी पढ़ सकते हो. अभी तक जैसा पढ़ रहे हो आप लोग, कितने देर तक आपको समझ में आएगा इजिली? मैं पढ़ाने नहीं जा रहा हूँ, आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग यू. कितने घंटे? जैसे 2.5 घंटे की क्लास होती है, 5 आवर्स 6 आवर्स. With break, you can continue for 5-6 hours. We have a crash course going on ना, पता है ना, हम लोग का एक क्रैश कोर्स भी चल रहा है ना, प्रीलिम्स इनरिचमेंट प्रोग्राम. सो देयर द क्लासेज ऑफ 6 hours. सो आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग कि स्टूडेंट्स, हाँ देखो मुझे लगता है इकोनॉमिक्स कोई भी ढंग से समझा नहीं है. ठीक है, सो कितना पढ़े वो तो मुझे डाउट ही है, मतलब कितना समझे हैं बेसिकली सच. बट विथ अ ब्रेक 5-6 hours हो सकता है. ठीक, चलो गुड. नहीं आप लोग का नहीं ले रहे हैं अभी. 15, 16 to 16, 17. Here we produced 10 kg wheat, price rupees 10. Here 11 kg and price rupees 10.5. What is the GDP here? 100. GDP here? Huh? GDP. What is the growth? 15.5%. 15.5% is the growth. What is the growth? 100%. So if this is the situation, Modi ji will go out and say that India is growing at 100%. Is it achievement for us? Huh? Why we are trying to increase GDP? Why we are trying to increase GDP? So that we can consume more. We are trying to produce more so that we can consume more. Here the amount is same. 1 kg राइस अगर 1000 रुपए का मिलेगा तो ज़्यादा सेटिस्फैक्शन रहेगा. कुछ लोगों को होता है कि बहुत. So here the consumption is not increasing. When we are trying to increase the GDP, our whole focus is on increasing the quantity. ठीक है? Not this price. So here GDP is increased by 100%, but it is of no use to us. So we always target the quantity thing. But we define GDP in terms of value, quantity into price both. Value means quantity into price both. But we always focus on quantity. So why not change the definition of GDP to, rather than value of goods and services produced, let's define as quantity of goods produced. तो क्या problem होगी? The problem will be, see what I am saying is कि when we are focusing on GDP, we always want to focus on quantity, but the definition says value. So why not change the definition to quantity? The problem will be if we define GDP as quantity of goods and services produced, and then someone asks that what is the GDP of India, then you will say that 100 kg rice, itna wheat, itna table, itna chair, itna, एक महीना लगेगा to express GDP. That is why we multiply by price so that everything can get added up. But we always want to know the quantity because that is going to impact our country. That is going to impact our standard of living. ठीक है, तो एक्सप्रेस करते हैं वैल्यू में, बट वी ऑलवेज आर इंटरेस्टेड इन क्वांटिटी. सो क्वांटिटी चेंज कितना परसेंट? क्वांटिटी चेंज 10%. And change in quantity and quantity and price combined 15.5%. Real change in GDP 10%. Nominal change in GDP. Nominal means quantity and price combined, real means quantity. ठीक है? क्या नहीं समझ में आ रहा बताओ? आप ही से पूछ रहा हूं. अरे क्वांटिटी में चेंज कितना है? क्वांटिटी में चेंज कितना है? परसेंटेज. कॉन्सेंट्रेट करके सुनोगे तब तो समझ में आएगा. सो चेंज इन क्वांटिटी इज 10%, दैट इज कॉल्ड रियल चेंज, एंड चेंज इन वैल्यू इज 15.5%, दैट इज कॉल्ड नॉमिनल. तो नॉमिनल चेंज में क्वांटिटी एंड प्राइस बोथ चेंज इज इन्वॉल्व. रियल चेंज में ओनली क्वांटिटी चेंज इज इन्वॉल्व. ठीक है. Now here there was only one commodity, so you directly calculated 10 to 11. You can calculate, you can see this change. But if there are several commodities, you cannot calculate by seeing this. So for that, what we do is, see here, 10 kg into rupees 10. Here it is 11 kg. If you keep the price constant, if you keep the same price here, this change, see, quantity यहाँ पे 10 था, here it was 11, so I put 11. Price here 10, here I have put the price same. So this change in this quantity is different, price is same. So this change of 10%. So this 10% change is because of change in quantity or price? Quantity. So if you want to calculate the change in quantity, you keep the price constant. So if you want to calculate real change, keep the price constant. If you want to calculate the nominal change, whatever it is you calculate.
What happens when this price decrease?
Price decrease, doesn't matter, real change will remain same. Real change will remain same, nominal change will go into negative or something. Both. मैं बताता हूँ अभी आपको. So here nominal change is 15.5%, real change is 10%. If someone asks you what is the GDP growth, we should always tell real. If he asks specifically real or nominal, you will tell. By default, we always tell real. Economic growth in India is measured by real change rather than nominal. ठीक है? So we always express real growth. We measure both, but economic growth we always express in terms of real change. ठीक है? So to calculate this in a better way, कैसे CSO करता है? Let's take an example. ये तो just ऐसे ही था. एग्जाम्पल देख लो, उसके बाद आप लिखना. 201112 India is producing rice and wheat. ठीक है, बोर्ड पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करना. 8 kg into rupees 12, 9 kg into rupees 12.5, 10 kg into rupees 13. Wheat 10 kg into rupees 10, 11 kg into 10.5, 12 kg into rupees 11. Nominal GDP. This year nominal GDP, how we will calculate? 8 into 12 plus 10 into 10. कितना जाएगा ये? 196. Here we will do 9 nominal calculate. Nominal means same year quantity, same year price. 9 into 12.5 plus 11 into 10.5. ये आ जाएगा 115.5, 112.5 rupees 228. यहाँ पे 10 into 13 plus 12 into 11, 130, 132 rupees 262. ठीक है. Now real GDP. So 8 into 8 into 12 plus 10 into 10. ये तो सेम रहेगा. Here it is still rupees 190. Now this year, for this year you want to calculate real GDP. So what we do is we take the price constant. So what we do is 9 into 12 plus 11 into 10. Here we will do 10 into 12 plus 12 into 10. So this comes out ठीक है, and this so in this case we have kept the prices constant. Can anyone calculate through this mobile कितना आ रहा है? What is, you have to tell me the change 196 to 228 in percentage terms. कितना आ रहा बताओ? 196 to 228. 85 percentage. Sixteen point 69. हमको नहीं पता बेस क्या होता, मैंने पूछा 196 to 228. What is this change? This one कितना रहा? 228 to 262, 14.9%. This change इधर देखो आप बोर्ड पे. What is the real GDP of 13-14? तो ध्यान से सुनो. I asked real GDP. There is a major difference between GDP and GDP growth. I asked the real GDP of 13-14. Real GDP of 13-14 is 240. Nominal GDP of 13-14 is 262. Nominal growth of 13-14 14.9%. Real growth of 13-14 10.9%. देखो आप एक चीज समझो. This 14.9% increase is because of increase in quantity or price or both? Both. So this is nominal change. This change is because of change in quantity or price or both? Quantity. So this is real change. To calculate real change, so in these three things, price is constant. So whatever is the change will reflect the change in quantity. So when you want to calculate real change in quantity, we have kept the price. See, ठीक है. टू 2017-18 में कितना है जीडीपी नॉमिनल? एक्चुअल यही जो है ना, ये हो गया. और रियल अप्रॉक्स देखो समझो. टू स्टेटमेंट को ध्यान सुनो. टू कैलकुलेट रियल जीडीपी you will have to take some previous year price as constant. Base year nahi, forget base year. To calculate real GDP, we will have to take some previous year, any year price constant. ठीक है? When CSO is calculating real GDP, which year price it has taken constant? 11-12. This has come by multiplying the quantity produced in 17-18 into price of 17-18. To calculate real GDP of 17-18, what CSO has done? Quantity 17-18, price 11-12. Of course, this should be less than this, approximately 130, 132 lakh. ठीक है. What is the size of Indian economy? 168 lakh. When we talk about size, where I am using growth word, where I am using just GDP, इस पे थोड़ा concentrate करना क्योंकि इससे related बहुत confusion हो जाता है. Size of Indian economy is expressed in terms of present year quantity, present year price, which is called nominal GDP. ठीक. When we measure change, we always measure real change. When we measure GDP, we always measure nominal GDP. देखो आप समझो एक चीज, your real GDP will depend on which your real GDP कितना है? मतलब your real GDP will depend on which year price you have taken constant. If you will take 2004-5 price constant, your real GDP will be further low. So your real GDP depends ki which price year you have taken constant. If you will take long back price year, it will be very less. Present ka loge, it will be more. So real GDP doesn't make any sense because it depends ki which price year you have taken constant. But why we calculate real GDP? I am saying that real GDP doesn't make any sense because it always depends ki which year price you have taken constant. But we always calculate real GDP so that we can calculate the change in GDP, change in real GDP. To calculate the change in quantity, we calculate real change, real GDP. Otherwise, real GDP का कोई मतलब नहीं. To calculate the change in quantity, we calculate real GDP. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So if someone asks that what is the size of India, to present year GDP, present year quantity, present year price. If someone asks the change in GDP, that change we want to express in terms of quantity because that is going to impact. When we are talking about India's size, तो present year quantity and India's size में हम GDP बताते हैं और growth में change in GDP बताते हैं. So when we talk about size, it is present year quantity, present year price. When we talk about the change, we are always interested in real change. So as such, real GDP doesn't make any sense, but to calculate the change in quantity, we will have to calculate real GDP. So when we are mentioning GDP, we mention nominal. When we mention growth, we mention the real change in GDP. ठीक है? इस स्टेटमेंट को आप याद रखना. So to calculate real GDP, we will have to take any year price as constant. For whichever year price we have taken it as constant, that is called base year. So when CSO is calculating real GDP, the base year is 11. कोई एक ईयर हम कांस्टेंट ले. किसी को डाउट है तो आप पूछ सकते हो. So this before that, this 10.09% is the real change. 13-14 में what is the real growth? 10.9. Measured from base year or where? Totally wrong. Previous year. देखो इधर concentrate को इधर बोर्ड पे. This change is from previous year. This change is just, so change in, real change in 13-14 is 10.09%. So this growth is from previous year. But to measure this growth in quantity, which year price we have fixed? 11-12. So if someone asks you what is the growth in 13-14, you will say 10.09%. This growth is from always just previous year. The price constant can be of any year. So base year is 11-12, but when we are measuring the growth in 13-14, it is just from the previous year. जैसे suppose you are in a corporate job, मैंने पूछा कि how much is the salary increment, you said 20%. So no one asks you 20% कहाँ से? Of course previous year. By default. By default always from previous year, annual change we ask. So to calculate the annual change in quantity, we can take any year price as constant. Clear है? क्या डाउट है बताओ? किसी को कोई डाउट नहीं है? कैसे करेंगे? We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
So the real GDP will always be less than nominal GDP.
If inflation is positive, if prices will decrease, then nominal GDP will be less than real GDP. ठीक? बेस ईयर अगर आप चेंज आउटपुट में नहीं डिफरेंस आएगा. 4-5 था. क्यों किया चेंज ये मैं बताऊंगा अभी. आप क्यों किया चेंज ये मैं बताऊंगा, बट बेस ईयर चेंज करने से क्वांटिटी डजंट गेट इम्पैक्ट. प्राइस विल बी लेस. भाई इसी ईयर if this price starts decreasing, यहाँ पे 12-10 था, it decreases here, it further decreases here, nominal GDP will be less than 240. हाँ? By suppose here price is ₹8, ₹7. Nominal GDP of 13-14 will be less than this or more than this? Less than this. Doubt क्या है? हाँ? 12 ये तो प्राइस कम हो जाएगा ना. प्राइस कम होगा तो ये नॉमिनल जीडीपी विल रिड्यूस देन रियल जीडीपी. सो लास्ट ईयर मीन्स 17-18. 17-18 में व्हाट वाज द रियल ग्रोथ? इस यहां से नहीं, द एक्चुअल. नाउ कम टू दिस इंडियन इकोनॉमी. 17-18 का ऑलरेडी डेटा आ चुका है. व्हाट वाज द ग्रोथ? You don't need to remember the exact figure, कुछ भी अप्रोक्सीमेट. देखो whenever I am asking any data, ठीक है, तो ये मैं सोचते रहो 6.2 6.3 यार क्या गलत, कुछ मुझे भी हो सकता नहीं याद एग्जैक्टली, and no one expects you to remember कि 6.2 था 6.3. approximately you should. So if someone asks me what was the GDP growth, you should not say 16%. वो इंडिया के लिए इम्पॉसिबल है, बट इंडिया के लिए इम्पॉसिबल है. But 6.7, 6.2 doesn't matter. जो भी आप सोचते हो, you can express that figure. At least I should know कि आप सोचते क्या हो. जैसे if I ask कि exchange rate कितना है, तो ये मैं सोचा यार 67 publish था, 68 था ये. जो भी था doesn't matter ऐसा. But you should not say 160. ठीक है. So GDP growth of 17-18 approximately 6.7% था. ठीक है. And you are not expected to remember these things. Trend पता होना चाहिए. So 6.7% था. Of 17-18. So this 6.7% was the change in 17-18 measured from which year? Previous year, 16-17. And price constant we have taken as 11-12. So this 6.7% was real change or nominal change? Real change. Always you measure real change. Nominal change कितना था? वो सब आप अपने में कैलकुलेट करो. मुझे आप आंसर बताओ. 17-18 क्वांटिटी चेंज रियल चेंज वाज 6.7%. व्हाट वाज द नॉमिनल चेंज? देखो अराउंड 4-5% इन्फ्लेशन. ठीक है. देखो रादर देन आप कभी भी देखो कि नॉमिनल चेंज बीइंग पब्लिश इन न्यूज़पेपर, नहीं, मैंने तो नहीं देखा. रेयरली नॉमिनल चेंज दे नेवर से. नॉमिनल चेंज में क्या है, क्वांटिटी एंड प्राइस चेंज इज इंक्लूडेड बोथ. So rather than asking nominal change, we ask separately what is quantity change means real change, what is price change means inflation. Quantity change 6.7%, price change 4.5%, nominal change was 11.5%. So nominal growth in 17-18 was 11.5%, real change was 6.7%, inflation was 4.5%. समझ गए? क्लियर है ये? कंसिडरिंग द सेम नॉमिनल ग्रोथ, कंसिडरिंग द सेम नॉमिनल ग्रोथ, 18-19 का नॉमिनल जीडीपी कैलकुलेट करके बताओ. कंसिडरिंग द सेम नॉमिनल चेंज, कैलकुलेट द नॉमिनल जीडीपी ऑफ 18-19. कैलकुलेट करो, मेरे तो अपने देखो, कैलकुलेट करो जल्दी से. बस क्वेश्चन एक सेकंड. आई सेड कि 17-18 में जो नॉमिनल ग्रोथ वाज 11.5%, रियल ग्रोथ वाज, यू नीड टू कैलकुलेट 18-19 का नॉमिनल जीडीपी यूजिंग द सेम रेट ऑफ चेंज. तो बताओ कितना आ रहा है? अरे मैं क्या, आई एम आस्किंग कि यूजिंग द सेम ग्रोथ रेट यू टेल मी द नॉमिनल जीडीपी. आई एम नॉट आस्किंग ग्रोथ, आई एम आस्किंग नॉमिनल जीडीपी. कैलकुलेट करके बताओ ना, परसेंटेज नहीं आता क्या? $194 कैसे आता जरा बताओ तो. 160 करो, 168 इंटू 1.115 कैलकुलेट करो. अरे परसेंटेज एक ही तरीके से कैलकुलेट होता है ग्रोथ. आप कैसे करते हो, मैं कैसे करता हूँ, डजंट मैटर. 180, हाँ. सो दिस ईयर 2018-19 nominal GDP, economic size of India is going to be around 188 lakh crore. This estimate was given by CSO 15 days back that 18-19 ka nominal GDP is going to be around 188 lakh crore, and this nominal change they have said that again 11.5% hoga. This real will increase to 7.5, inflation will decrease to 3.5. समझ गए? किसको इसको डाउट है बताओ. कैसे? अप्रॉक्सीमेट फिगर आई नो, तो मैंने कर दिया. अप्रॉक्सीमेट फिगर था, मैंने कर दिया. सो दिस ईयर ऑल्सो 18-19 our real growth is expected to be around 7 to 7.5%, inflation 3.5%. So nominal growth for 18-19 is expected to be around 11.5%. ठीक है. So ये सारा डेटा अपडेट आई हैव पुट इट इनटू द नेक्स्ट एडिशन. ठीक है. एक्चुअल फिगर तो 4 महीने बाद आएगा ना. कब आएगा? अरे बोला ना 31st May. इट दिस फाइनेंशियल ईयर एक्चुअल फिगर्स व्हेन इट विल कम? 31st May को न्यूज़ पेपर में आएगा. ठीक है. तो ये समझ गए आप? समझ गए? So why we calculate real GDP? To know the change in quantity. ठीक है, ये आप नोट कर लिए ना क्या हुआ? क्या दिल पे नहीं लो, कोई बात नहीं, हम लोग देख लेंगे बाद में क्लास में। अरे परसेंटेज ये ना, इट विल कम सेम। कितना आ रहा है?
116 to 1.5.
राइट, कितना आ रहा है?
194.04% आ रहा है। 194.04 चल रहा है।
नहीं आएगा। जस्ट वन सेक 168, हाँ कैंसिल करो। 168 इंटू 1.115 इज इक्वल टू 1।
मैं ऐसे करता हूँ ना सर, दिस 116 हो गया।
क्लास के बाद पूछ लेना। अरे वो सेम आएगा, परसेंटेज है, हाउ डज इट।
मैं भी देख रहा हूँ ना।
ये अभी जाना नहीं है। Suppose India's economy is totally agriculture based. Here the output is 10 kg, price rupees 10. I have already taken price constant. Suppose here the production is 11 kg. I have already taken price constant. Suppose this is a drought year. This is a drought year, and 7 kg into what will be the production this year? This is again a normal year. This is drought year. Production will be इससे आप, ये कॉमन सेंस, इसमें इकोनॉमी नहीं है। यहाँ पे प्रोडक्शन कितना होगा? देखो भाई सुनो, 1 acre लैंड वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग 1 टन। नॉर्मल प्रोडक्शन 1 टन है। किसी पर्टिकुलर देयर इज सीवियर ड्रॉट, प्रोडक्शन इज 0। नेक्स्ट ईयर दिस इज नॉर्मल ईयर, अगेन प्रोडक्शन विल बी 1 टन। कि स्टेप बाय स्टेप बढ़ेगा? हाँ, अगेन इट विल जंप टू 1 टन। दिस ग्रोथ is because of normal increase in productivity. Production is increasing, na? Why? Technological changes and other certain changes. This year it declined because of severe drought. If this is again a normal year, it will not start increasing from here. Jump कर जाएगा यहाँ से normal productivity को. So 13, right? देखो ये जनरल स्टडीज इकोनॉमी, इसमें 90% चीजें कॉमन सेंस या लॉजिकल एबिलिटी से आप सॉल्व कर सकते हो. इसको यूपीएससी के मार्केट में बोलते हैं ना, हवा बना दिया गया है. सिंपल, यू अप्लाई योर कॉमन सेंस लॉजिकल एबिलिटी. दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड कि ट्रस्ट योर लॉजिक. जो भी आप पढ़ रहे हो, स्टार्ट बिल्डिंग योर कॉन्सेप्ट्स. फॉरगेट अबाउट एनीथिंग. जो भी आपने पढ़ा बस उसको यूज करते जाओ. कॉमन सेंस. ठीक है. What is the change in real GDP? Suppose 14 हो गया. Change in real GDP 50%. कितना परसेंट? जिसको ये दिख नहीं रहा, कैलकुलेट करना पड़ रहा है. फिर इकोनॉमी समझने में ये दिखना चाहिए. ठीक है. सो 100% चेंज है. जस्ट 2 minutes. If in this year Modi ji will go abroad, and if someone, Trump asks him that at what rate India is growing, what he will say? 100%. Is this true? यस इट इज 100% ट्रू। क्या गलत है बताओ जरा। भाई दिस इज आवर ग्रोथ इज 100%, इसमें कोई गलत नहीं है, दिस इज परफेक्टली राइट, दिस इज 100% जंप। ठीक है, फिर देन ही अगेन वेंट इन नेक्स्ट ईयर प्रोडक्शन विल बी, then he will go again next year, then he will say the growth is 9%. So 100 to 9 aa gaya. This production 14 kg was normal production, but you are seeing a major change just because the production here was quite less. Production here was quite less, that is why you are seeing this thing. This change in 15-16 you measure from which year? Just previous year. देखो just previous year, this is called base effect. Base effect, you are measuring the change in this year from just previous year. इसके लिए base ये है, this is called base effect. It has nothing to do with base year. दोनों एकदम different चीज। जैसे for example मैं यहां से jump करता हूं, my base is this floor, मैं यहां से जंप करूंगा शायद लॉन्ग जंप करूंगा, so my base will be this. We always measure the growth from just previous year. तो इसके लिए बेस क्या ये, इसके लिए बेस क्या ये, this is not in context of that base year. ठीक है, so here the change you are seeing 100% just because from wherever you are measuring that year production was very less, so we call that base effect. So Trump will ask that what is the growth in 15-16, Modi ji will definitely say कि 100%, then Trump will ask अरे इतना, then he will say नहीं नहीं base effect, and after 1 year this base effect will be gone, base effect will be gone, so base effect remains for 1 year or 2.
एवरेज नहीं बताना चाहिए,
किसका एवरेज?
जितना भी अगर यही
आपसे पूछेंगे कितनी सैलरी इंक्रीज हुई, कितने साल का एवरेज बताओगे? एक पीछे का बताते हैं। और एग्रीकल्चर, सुनो ध्यान से आप, our GDP growth I said कि 6.7%. GDP growth consists of 3 sectors growth: agriculture, industry, service. Generally agriculture grows at 2.53%, industry grows at 5-6%, services grows at 9-10%, overall combined it is grows at 6.77%. ठीक है, now agriculture growth I said कि long term it goes at 2.5-2.83%. ठीक है, in 16-17 your agriculture growth was 5%, very high. For agriculture it was quite high because generally growth is 3%. 16-17 your agriculture growth was 5%, which was tremendous growth for agriculture. The reason was base effect. 15-16 was drought. 2016-17 में एग्रीकल्चर ग्रोथ वी पब्लिश 5%, which is very high in terms of agriculture. The reason is यहाँ पे production was very less, so base effect. So if objective question आपके यहाँ आता है कि in 16-17 agriculture growth was very high, which could be the probable reason? First, productivity increased a lot, technological advancement, third base effect. Base effect. यहाँ पे प्रोडक्शन वाज नॉर्मल बट हियर प्रोडक्शन डिक्लाइन, सो ग्रोथ इंक्रीज। ठीक है, बाकी टॉपिक हम लोग कल पढ़ेंगे। ठीक है, प्लीज कीप ऑन रिवाइजिंग व्हाट एवर यू हैव रेड टुडे। ठीक है, डाउट होगा तो क्लास के पहले पूछ लेना।